everybody, welcome back to Crochet by Landry. In this video today we are going to make a crocheted apple ornament today. So grab your Red Heart Super Saver yarn and your 3.5mm hook, your pattern off of yarnspirations.com, and let's crochet a little apple friend. Okay everybody, let's jump right in and make our funny little apple friend here. So what you're going to need is you're going to need Red Heart Super Saver, and you're going to need it in red or whatever color of apple you want to make. And you're also going to need some pink for the cheeks, green for the leaf and the stem. And you're also going to need a 3.5mm hook, some scissors, a yarn needle for sewing in ends, a stitch marker to keep track of your rows possibly. And if you want to follow along with me, you can grab the pattern off of yarnspirations.com. I'll put the link down below. And once you got your supplies, let's get started. Okay, everybody, let's get started. So you're going to grab your hook, which is your 3.5mm, and your yarn, whatever color you want to use for your apple. I'm using red. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with a slip knot. Okay. Then once you've got your slip knot, you're going to chain 2 to get started. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 6 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more. Oops. 6. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do round 2, which is you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to put a stitch marker. I'm going to make the first single crochet of round 2. Then I'm just going to place a stitch marker right where I started, so I know where I start and where I end. So that was 1. We're going to put 2 in each, which is called an increase. So that was 2. This is 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9, 10, and then 2 more to finish off, making 12. Oops. Try not to let your hook slip out of place there. So 2 more makes 12. There we go. So that's 12 single crochets for round 2. Now let's move on to round 3. Okay, so let's get started with round 3. So in the round 3 is going to be, you're going to put 1 single crochet in the first. Don't forget, place your stitch marker. Oops. Stitch marker back in your first stitch of the round. Then in the next single crochet, you're going to put 2. Just like that. So then the next one after that will be 1. And then you put 2 in the next one after that. And then you're going to continue that all the way around. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around. You should finish with 2 single crochets in your last stitch. Once you reach that point, I will meet you there. Okay, did you finish round 3? If you did, you should have 18 single crochets. Now let's move on to round 4. So we're going to put 1 in the first one, and we're going to put our stitch marker back in place, and then 1 in the second one, and then 2 in the third one after that. And then that's the pattern. So it's going to be 1, 2, and then your increase. So let's do it one more time. So 1, 1, and then an increase. So that means 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. And again, you're going to repeat that all the way around until you reach the end. Once you've reached the end, you should have 24 stitches. And once you do, I will meet you there. Okay, so you should have 24 stitches at the end of this round. Let's move on to round 5. So this is our last row of increasing. After this, we don't have to increase anymore. So we're going to put 1 in the first one, and then put our stitch marker back, and then 1 in the second one, and 1 in the third, and then 2 in the fourth one. So that's going to be the pattern for this row is 1, 2, 3, and then increase in the fourth. So 1, 1, and then 1, and then increase in the fourth stitch. And you're just going to do that all the way around. And once you've gone all the way around, you should have 30 stitches by the end of this round. Once you get to the last stitch, I will meet you there. Okay, so if you got to 30 stitches, that's good. That was our last row of increasing, so we don't have to increase anymore. So now what we're going to do is from rows 6 to 13, we're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So all we're going to do is just do 1 single crochet in each stitch around from rows 6 to 13, and be sure to move your stitch marker when you're doing it. That way you're keeping track of your rows. Okay, and once you have up to row 13, I will meet you at row 13 and we'll move on to row 14 together. Okay, if you hit row 13, you should have something that looks like this. So what we're going to do for row 14 is now we're going to start decreasing, which is making the top smaller to make it look more like an apple. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put 3 single crochets in the next 3 stitches. So again, keeping track of your rows. So that's 1, 2, and then 3. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do a single crochet 2 together stitch. So we're going to go in the next one, pull up a loop. In the one after that, pull up another loop, so you have 3 on your hook, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, putting 2 stitches as 1. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets again. So 1, 2, and 3. And then now we're going to do that single crochet 2 together again. Okay, and then we're going to go 1, 2, and 3, and then single crochet 2 together again. And we're going to do that all the way around till we reach back to our beginning, and once you get there, I'll see you there. Okay, so let's work on row 15. So now we're going to go from 24 stitches is what we have to 18. So now we're going to put a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Remember to put your stitch marker or paper clip or whatever you're using to keep track of your rows, put that back in its place. So 2 single crochets, and now we're going to single crochet 2 together. So then 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then single crochet 2 together. And again, we're going to do that all the way around. 2, and then single crochet 2 together. Okay, 1 and 2, and then single crochet 2 together. Then you're going to do that all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the beginning. All right, this is going to be our last and final round. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put 1 in the next stitch, put our stitch marker back, and then we're going to do a single crochet 2 together, decrease after that. So it's going to be 1, and then your decrease. Okay, 1, and then your decrease. And again, all the way around once you get back to the beginning, and once you do that, I'll see you there. That was the last and final round, so you can take your stitch marker out, toss it to the side. We don't need it right now. Then you're just going to slip stitch into the next one for now. And then fasten off. Now you're going to trim your tail, but leave a tail so we can sew our friend here closed. Just like that. But before we do that, we're going to put some stuffing in here, because that way it'll make it look more like an apple. So you want to stuff it firm enough that it won't lose shape, but not too much stuffing so it doesn't look like it's overflowing. Just use your judgment on how much stuffing you think you need. I'm just using some fiber fill. You can use yarn scraps, like old socks that you could cut up. You can also use old material as well. Whatever you have lying around, if you can't get stuffing. I think that's good. So now what we're going to do is grab our yarn needle. And what we're going to do is we're just going to weave it in and out of the stitches here. And I'm just grabbing a piece of the top of this last row that we did. So what it's going to do is it's going to create a little drawstring effect. So when we pull, it should just close for us. Just like that. I'm just going to do it all the way around until you reach the beginning. Just remember to give your thing a yank every once in a while. Okay. Now I'm just going to weave my tail in back and forth through the hole here so it can close a little bit better. All right, it's starting to look like an apple. There we go. Now I'm just going to leave my tail out in case I need it. But for now we can put our friend aside, and we're going to make the stem and the leaf and the cheeks that go on our apple. Okay, so let's make the stem of our apple. I'm going to use this green here. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to chain 6 to begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put a half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. Okay, and then just what you're going to do after that is slip stitch in the remaining stitches after that. Just slip stitch all the way down. There we go, and then just fasten off. Leave a little tail for sewing. Okay, and now what we can do is, why don't we sew this onto our apple so we don't have to do it later. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to thread my needle. I'm going to try to find the middle of my apple here. And I'm just going to try to stick it in the center of the apple as best as I can. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to sew it on so it won't come off. You can sew it on however you like. It's up to you. It's your apple. Okay, there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this little tail here that's left over, thread it on my needle, and I'm actually going to stick it through the side and then come out the same hole as the other string. It's just going to anchor it a little bit better. Then I'm going to double knot these two ends. Trim them. Throw that scrap to the side, and I'm just going to take my needle here and I'm actually just going to push this knot inside the apple. So that way keeps our project neat and tidy. There we go. We have our stem. Now let's work on making the leaf. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the same thing we did before, except with, I'm going to use the same green, and we're going to chain 8 to begin. Once you've got your eight chains ready to go, I'll see you in a minute. All right, I've got my 8 chains, so let's get started making our leaf. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. Then we're going to do a double crochet in the next chain after that. Then we're going to do a treble crochet, which is yarn over twice, 1, 2, in the next stitch. Then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to do one more of those in the next stitch after that. Like that. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and 2. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch. Oops, there we go. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 single crochets in the last stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work along the opposite side. So we're going to turn the corner here and go down the opposite side. And we're basically just going to repeat what we just did. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a work along the back side here. So we're going to put a double crochet in the next, which is right here, right above the other double crochet we made. Then we're going to do our 2 trebles in the next 2 stitches. So here's 1. And take your time, no rush. This is 2. Then we're going to put a double crochet in the next stitch after that. Then a half double crochet. And then we're just going to put a single crochet at the very top here. There we go. Now for row 2, we're going to chain 1, turn our work. Then we're going to work 7 single crochets in the first 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, and 7. Then what we're going to do is 3 single crochets in the next stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and then 7 single crochets in the remaining stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1 more, 7, and then you're just going to slip stitch to that first single crochet you made, fasten off. Now leave a little bit of a tail for sewing. There we go. And there we have our leaf for our apple. Now let's take a second and weave in this loose tail right here, so it's not in our way. And we can trim it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sew our leaf onto our apple right next to the stem. Now if you want to, you can probably stitch it to the stem. So what we're going to do is you're just going to sew it right to the side of the apple here. Just do your best. I'm trying to sew it on here. Okay, there we go. I think that's good. And I'm just going to stick my yarn through the apple here and come out the bottom. Then I'm just going to trim the end. Okay. I'm just going to trim my red as well. There we go. Okay, we have our apple. Now we can work on adding a face to our apple. Okay, so let's make some cheeks for our apple friend here. So I'm going to use some pink. What you want to do is make a slip knot. And then you want to chain 3 to begin. So 1, 2, 3. Then what you want to do is you want to do 7 half double crochets in the 3rd chain from your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one more, 7. Then you're going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 where you started. Then just fasten off. Leave a small tail for sewing. There we go. And what you're going to do is you're going to want to make 2 of these. Make 2 so we can sew them on to our apple friend over here. There we go. Now let's make the face. Okay, so let's take a minute and sew on our cheeks on our apple friend here. So what you want to do is thread your needle. Now you want to try to place your cheeks where you think your face will be for your apple, on your apple here. So I'm probably going to put the first one here. And all I'm going to do is just go in and out of the apple and in and out of the cheek itself. I'm just going to take my time. Trying to grab a piece of every stitch. So I can make sure it's not going to come off. There we go. Then you're just going to take the yarn and maybe slip it through somewhere. Have it come out the other side. Like that. And then just trim it. There we go. And then you're going to sew the other one on. Once you've got the other cheek on, we'll add his eyes and his smile, and then we'll be all done. Okay, so let's get ready to sew on make his eyes and his smile. So what we're going to do is, you see I've already done one eye here. We're just going to make some French knots for his eyes. So I'm going to start from the back here. I'm just going to go through the back side. Anywhere on the back is fine. Then you're going to come out where you want his eyes to be. So I'm thinking probably about there is good. I'm just going to pull. And then once I have a little bit of a tail back on the back side, take my yarn needle, lie it across the apple, then take one end, the opposite end that's coming out of the apple, not the one attached to your yarn needle. Wrap it around your yarn needle about 3 times, and then you're going to grab the needle and you're just going to pull until it becomes a little knot. And then what you're going to do is just come out, go in through your apple on a stitch just right next to where the eye is. And you're going to try and come out where you went in to begin. I'm just going to pull it till it's not too tight, but tight enough that it's not going to come loose on you. Then you can also trim your ends a little bit. And then you're just going to double knot them. From the outside. And then just take your yarn needle or a pencil or something and just slowly stuff your ends inside your apple. That way they're not seen. There we go. Now what you want to do is we're going to make his smile. So grab your yarn needle with your black again, and you're going to come out I'm going to go back through the back side of the apple again, and you're going to come out probably next to the cheek somewhere. As close as you want. It's probably right there is good. Okay. Then you're just going to go just a little bit across, as much as you want. Try to come out. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to push the yarn, our needle through. Try to come out through where you went in the first time. There we go. And then do what you did before. Just trim your end. Double knot it, stuff it back in your apple, and once you've done that, you'll be all finished. And there we have it, everybody. We made a crocheted little apple friend today. So don't forget to subscribe down below, hit the like and the notification bell, and have a happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you next week.